My name is Violet Scobee. I am a full-time legal advocate for domestic violence victims, and I live and work in Chicago. Revival tastes like, to me, like a really crisp, cold, straight from the fridge pop that you've been craving for all day, and it's just like even more satisfying than a cold glass of water. It's awakening your senses, and it's kind of perking you up. I joined the Inclusive Collective in 2016. I heard about Inclusive Collective through flyers that were posted around UIC campus about a book event, and I ended up going and got plugged in, got coffee with Rich, and now I'm here. It was Rescuing Jesus. They had the author come in and do a little reading and talk about the book and the process. What drew me in, I don't remember the exact wording of the title of the book, but it was something about queer and people of color, different marginalized groups like that, trying to reclaim Christianity and what it means to them. And I was like, wow, this is so different from what I thought most Christian groups talked about. And it was something that I was wanting very badly at that time in my life, to find a space like that. And so I went with high hopes, and it exceeded my expectations. This was shortly after, if I'm remembering right, the presidential election of 2016. So it was definitely a rough time, not only for me, but for a lot of people. And I had basically gone through a breakup with my home church and another campus ministry that I had been with my whole college career. And I was all of a sudden found myself kind of floating without a faith community, when that was something that I had had my whole life, essentially. And I just didn't want to be back in that space where it was very conservative at its core and not accepting of who I was fully. So to find something that was what I needed, especially at such a crucial time in my life, was some very awesome divine intervention. I was never very doubtful about God or anything like that, but I just never really dived deep with my relationship with God, what my faith really means to me, and I never really challenged what the mainstream narrative was about Christianity, who God is, how I should be a good Christian, things like that. So it was just kind of in a very stagnant surface level space, but not necessarily. My faith life now is definitely in such a better place. I feel like I'm constantly learning new things about myself and my faith, my relationship with God, and I'm not afraid to challenge things or ask tough questions to figure out what the truth is for me. It's a lot of introspection and self-growth because I'm being challenged to do that stuff. I'm not being kept at this comfortable surface level spot anymore. Inclusive Collective has played a big role in helping me grow my faith journey. They really dive deep. They ask those hard questions. It's all just blossomed into this really amazing thing. Even though I feel really stable in my relationship with God and knowing the truth about Him and His nature, I don't necessarily have to have all the answers. That doesn't mean I'm any less of a Christian or a beloved child of God if I don't have all those answers. When Christians try to use the Bible and Jesus and God to justify their very harmful, problematic, and cruel beliefs, when they try to use who Jesus is to justify hurting other people, which is so far from who Jesus was, and it seems so obvious to me. Like, Jesus was not subtle about who He is and what He believes in and how He believes we should treat others and love others, and yet people have somehow tried to take that and warp it to fit their disturbed ideals, and it makes me so much more angry than so many other things. What gives me hope is when people believe that we can make a change, that we can make a difference, make this world a little bit better than when we found it. And I think people as a whole and creation as a whole is inherently good. And so when I meet other people who try to make just those little changes in other people's lives or in their community and see that as so valuable and needed, that's what brings me hope. Soul work is all about like introspection, self-growth, just like keeping Jesus at the center of everything. Jesus as the reason for why we do what we do, why we choose the line of work that we do. Jesus as the reason for us being who we are. Challenging beliefs that you might hold that aren't necessarily true or healthy. Again, just diving deep and doing real intentional work on yourself, with your relationship with God, relationship with others. And it's something that I think I've really benefited from, and I've seen how it affects other people in this community and how it shapes them for the better. I very much believe that Jesus created us on purpose, and so there are certain things, queer identities, people of color, disabled folk who society might tell us that we're the exception to that, that God doesn't necessarily love us as much for being those things, which that is a flat out lie. God made us on purpose as those things. I feel like the Inclusive Collective has definitely invested in me a lot over the past few years, even when I was kind of distant and reluctant to really fully step in. People were still invested in me when I wasn't coming to small group every week. It had a profound impact on me. It's made me feel more supported, and when I'm more supported, I'm more able to be who I truly am and do the things that I'm called to do. I feel like the IC has fueled me to just lean into who I was fully created by God to be, which has affected all areas of my life in a beautiful way. I'm passionate about trying to lift up the voices of marginalized people, marginalized communities, and helping them reclaim the power that was stolen from them. That takes a lot of different forms. I work in the field of domestic violence legal work, so that's something that we do a lot of empowerment type of stuff. I'm Scobee, and I'm fueled to empower survivors of domestic violence to reclaim their voices and power.